and real-life heroes of this film to the stage. Director William Goldenberg. Jennifer Lopez. Judy Robles. Jharrel Jerome. And the man of the hour, Anthony Robles. So Anthony, actually I want to start with you because it's clear after watching this film, you had a bigger dream for your life than what everyone else was trying to tell you. But did that dream include having a movie made about your life?
Absolutely not. You know, it's very surreal for me to be here tonight. I'm so honored to be here and blessed for this opportunity. And you know, for me, it just went back to what my mom always taught me. You know, to give my best in everything that I did, and to never allow my challenge to become an excuse in my life. That's the way she chose to address this. Everyone saw it as something that could hold me back, but I was blessed to have a mom to not allow me to think that way, and I guess that's the reason why we're here today. But you know, we're so blessed to have this amazing group to tell our story in a way that we're proud of it, and I couldn't ask for any more than that. So I'm truly living a dream right now.
All right, thank you. So William, first, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Nobody tells me anything.
Although this is your directorial debut, you are an Academy Award-winning film editor. You have worked on several films, including Argo, Zero Dark 30, and more. But why was this the first project you decided to helm?
Well, I've been looking for something to direct for probably 10 years, maybe more, but being a full-time editor and finding something to direct isn't really something that's I found possible, because it's a full-time job looking for material. But then I was lucky enough that one of the producers on the film, David Crockett, brought me the idea for the film and told me about Anthony and all the things that he had done, and it seemed, too good to be true almost. And then I read his book and I was incredibly moved by it, and flew to Arizona and spent time with him there, 4 days with him in Arizona, and got to see him interact with other people and the effect he had on other people, and just what a terrific person he is, and how he lights up every room he walks into. And it was also then the combination of it being, sort of a sports-oriented film, and then the other side of that being a family drama. I felt comfortable in both those arenas. As an editor, I've done a lot of films based on true stories, a lot of films that have a lot of interpersonal drama, and then I've done several sports films. So it all felt comfortable, and it felt like, I've worked on a lot of films that are very dark themed, that are very not heavy and not so uplifting sometimes. And I thought it was what a great thing to do as your first film, to do something that would hopefully uplift people the way his Anthony story uplifted me.
I'm curious about something because in my past life I was an editor, and when I used to do interviews with people, once I got my quote I needed, I kind of stopped listening, because I was like, I have what I need. But I'm curious, as an editor, when you were making the film and you knew that you had it, did you have to retrain yourself to let it play, let the scene play out?
You mean in the editing room?
No, as you were directing on set.
I was fortunate enough to have this incredible cast, Jerome and Jennifer obviously, but Bobby Cannavale and Don Cheadle, Michael Peña, and everybody else actually. So they were as many times as I heard the dialogue in my head while I was trying to get this film off the ground, every time they would do it, it would be different than I ever expected and better. And so I was always sort of every day was another surprise, and how much better was playing than I thought, or how much better they were doing the dialogue than I ever imagined. So it was, there was no time where I felt like, oh, I got what I wanted. And I also, gave them the freedom to sort of make the dialogue their own, so every take was a little different, everything, whether it be the words or the inflections, or, so I always wanted to see what they would do that would constantly surprise me and make me look like a better director. That's my goal.
Well, speaking about dialogue, Judy, I've seen a clip where Jennifer shares the backstory of the scene where Judy tells Anthony the story of his birth, or what happened, her interaction with him. Please share with us how that scene came about.
Oh, wow. It's really hard to relive, when I had him. I was 16 when I had him, and honestly, I was just a statistic. I'm a Latina with a baby. I wasn't to amount to anything, but I honestly never thought about it, but I never really shared those stories. But she created such a space of safety and trust for me that I was able to open up and share those moments. And I knew that being vulnerable to her was important if I wanted to, to support everybody here and trying to tell the story accurately. So it was because of her and just allowing me to open up and for me to trust that she would take the parts that meant the most, but to do it with such authenticity and care, and she had a lot of empathy for me, and mom to mom, she understood that, and she also understood the relationship that Anthony and I have, so that meant more to me. So I trusted her, and I think that mattered a lot to me, that I could trust her, and I am extremely happy and proud of everything she did and how she portrayed me, honestly.
And Jennifer, what made you know to push a bit, to get her to open up?
Because I know what it's like to be out there in the public eye. I know what it's like for people to judge you and to, kind of look at you and, have all their ideas about who you are. And so to open up your life to people is a very scary thing. Nobody here is, if I picked out one person who would just tell me all the most difficult things in your life, the things you tell nobody, the things that nobody knows, that's, you're just like, excuse me? It's a very scary thing. So for me, it was about making her feel very safe and to understand that to tell the story in the best way. It's such a victorious, triumphant, inspiring story. But what makes it that is the struggles and the hard times. That's what makes it so kind of beautiful to watch and kind of moving to watch. And so I told her, I said, the more you can give me, the more I can understand what your life was and what your relationship is, not just with Anthony, but all your kids and to yourself, and how you feel like deep down with all of these things that have happened, and having a baby at 16 and on and on and on and on, and being in a marriage that was challenging, and how that affected the kids and how she felt about that. And as a mom, I knew that comes with a lot of feelings. And so the more she shared with me, the better my performance would get. And she was very brave. It's very brave to do stuff like this. I think it was brave for both of them to share those parts of their lives with the world, to then kind of tell this story that would inspire people and make you, kind of like cry at the end of the movie. Oh my God, yes, I could do anything, because they both have done and fulfilled, these potentials that probably people never thought that either one of them would. And that's very inspiring. And so for me, she was a very complicated character, very complex, not complicated, complex, and complicated, like all women and people are. And there was strength. There was so much strength. If you talk to her kids, it's like, oh, she's so happy all the time. Like, as Anthony, I said, what's your mom like? Oh, she's so happy all the time, and she's the best mom, and she's always encouraging me, blah blah blah. And then when I talked to Judy, she was like, it was really hard. I never let the kids know, and this and this and that. And she really let me in on, her deep and her feelings. And I wound up taking a lot of those nuggets that were not in the script and putting them in because they were important for her character. And Billy was generous enough to let me do that. And I think it was, for me, when I saw the final product, I was like, wow, what came across was exactly what I encountered in real life with Judy and Anthony. a really strong bond of two people who affected each other and inspired each other to be the best that they could be. And by just loving each other, you know, as a mother and son. And that to me was, you know, a beautiful thing to watch and to be a part of.
Thank you. Jharrel, in a review about your performance, a critic said, quote, "Never once did Jerome play up Robles' disability, but he allows it to exist as just another part of a complex and compelling individual," end quote. Why was this important to you?
Well, that was nice.
I stole it from your Instagram.
Well, it's so interesting. I mean, the first time I saw Anthony was this 12-minute interview that he did after he won a match. And like Billy said earlier, the sky lights up the room. I mean, look at him, look at the smile. He was so charismatic, so charming, and so I'm like, yo, this is the nicest guy ever. And then the next video I click is him in the match, and body slamming this guy down to the ground, and like the nice guy was gone, just like a monster on the mat, and so it was very confusing for me. And so I wanted to understand that sort of duality that lived in this guy, and it's just become so much more than like this is the guy I'm playing in a film. This is now a brother in my life and a friend. I've known Anthony for 5 years now because I got on the project in 2019 and we met in 2020. And he was my body double and stunt double the whole time. So I was number 1 on the call sheet, he was number 1A. And so I was there 12 hours, he was also there 12 hours. And it's not often as an actor that you get to play somebody real and actually spend so much time with them. So it was understood for me that the last thing I wanted to make this was, all right, this is just the big tough guy who just can wrestle. I wanted to peel those layers and show the emotion, the vulnerability, and you know, the little soft side of this guy. And so actually being there with him and watching him learn and watching him like be on a movie set, he knows everything about wrestling. And I trained with him for 7 months, 5 days a week, for 2 hours a day. Yeah, I did that. And that was learning one side of him, learning how he coaches and how he can break down scenes and how he can teach. But I didn't get to learn the little, Jen says nuggets, the little things that go beyond that until I actually saw him like at 6 in the morning with like 2 hours of makeup doused on his face. And he's just like, so this is what you do? I'm like, yeah, this is what I signed up for. It's not what he signed up for. So I'm watching him nervous, I'm watching him shy, a bit more coy, a bit less understanding of the environment around him. And I got to kind of just like quietly like stalk him on the set and watch and kind of pull some things. So it was cool. And yeah, the emotional part of it all was important for me. And kudos to Billy for like getting all up in my face this whole movie. You know, I didn't know he was that close. You could see beyond the eyes, and I appreciate that.
Great job, William. But William, I've heard you say that you approach this film as a partnership. Explain what you mean by that.
Well, yeah, very much so. I mean, I wanted everybody to have the freedom to come up with ideas and to add things like Jennifer and Jharrel all did all the time, and all the actors did. And the first time I met Jharrel, you know, my first time as a director. Now he's more experienced as an actor than I am as a director. But I just felt like I've watched how other directors succeed, and some of them do it by, you know, being a dictator and, you know, my way, and I don't want to hear anything else. And I work with ones who are much more collaborative. And I found, as a filmmaker, as an editor, I did way better work when I was treated as a partner, when I was treated as someone who was a collaborator, not an employee. And I really wanted that with everybody. I wanted everybody to feel free to have suggestions and make the dialogue their own, and really feel like they're part of this process of making this film, because we're all putting so much of ourselves into it. So that it was just important to me that Jennifer and I were partners, and Jharrel and I, and Anthony and Judy as well. I mean, they were on set quite a bit, and it was inspiring to have them around, and I think we all learned a little more about them every day just by being around them, and it made it really fun for everybody, I think. And I just felt like that's a way better way to spend your day. You know, in a friendly sort of familial, like everybody's a one big family, than to have it be, you know, a set where, you know, there's everybody's on edge and everybody's nervous. So I just want it to be a happy set. I think it's more reflective of the story we're telling.
Thank you. So Anthony, Unstoppable is based on your book, which is Unstoppable from Underdog to Undefeated, How I Became a Champion. But with any adaptation, everything can't make it onto the screen. So what was truly important for you, Judy, and William in bringing this story to the big screen? I mean, aside from you are a champion.
I think the biggest things that I wanted people to take away is, you know, my strength came from my faith and my family. And I think Billy just did a beautiful job, and Jharrel Jennifer did an amazing job of just telling that, you know, where that strength came from, because it wasn't just me. Yeah, you know, I was wrestling on that mat against the flesh and blood opponent, but I was wrestling through my life, and, you know, it was my mom and my coaches and my siblings who were called in my voices in the crowd. You know, as I'm wrestling through the matches, as they're wrestling through their matches, we're cheering each other on, we're getting through it. And that's what I want people to walk away with, that message. You know, that word unstoppable applies to everybody if they choose it. You know, it's about just the mentality that you approach every day with, you know, the life challenges with. You know, are you focused on what you don't have, what you can't do, or are you focused on your blessings, your opportunities? And I believe that when people watch this, it allows them to think about their own lives and what they're wrestling with and say, you know, I can be unstoppable too, but what are my opportunities? What are my blessings? You know, am I focused on my challenge, or am I focused on the right things? And I believe that they captured that message perfectly.
And Judy, I'm curious, what was the point in your life where you decided that you were unstoppable?
I haven't reached it. You know, I don't know. I mean, it's the way Anthony gives me credit for everything. I'm still blown away. I still don't understand it. But I'm grateful that I'm his mom and that I was the one chosen, that God's like, this is your baby, and I didn't know what that meant. But he pushed me along, and I think it's not something that I just wake up and know. It's waking up every moment and to continue to push myself. So in, you know, making the decision to finally leave and to finally get my life together and to get my degrees and to force through it and not know what direction I was going, I think that helped. But then honestly, seeing this film is like seeing my life and going, oh, you did do all these things, and yes, it was messy and it was painful, but here you are. And honestly, I thank Billy for that, for wanting to tell this story, but for everybody here, for Jharrel to like portray Anthony perfectly, like mannerisms, facial expressions, everything. Jennifer did the same for me, and it was seeing our lives there, and I think seeing that, it encouraged me to go, okay, you did okay. But it's still the daily reminder of the scars that Anthony and I both carry. You know, those are part of what made us who we are, and I'm grateful for those scars, but I'm also humbled by the whole experience. So I think it's watching this and just allowing people to see the amazing son that I have, because I've always known he's been great, but now all of you get to see that and see what inspired me.
So Jennifer and Jharrel, I'm gonna go off script for 2 seconds. You're both proud New Yorkers from the Bronx. And we know that the Bronx has very distinct language, speech patterns, swag. So talk to us about how you had to shift, and no offense to Arizona, but you know, folks from Arizona, like what was that like?
To go from like water and coffee to water and coffee. Yeah, Anthony. I don't know. It was important for us, obviously. You know, New York, we have a darker wave, darker tone behind our palette is a lot heavier. But in the Midwest, not the Midwest, excuse me, the Southwest, it's a lot lighter and brighter. It's almost like they can all be like weathermen, like you could be a weatherman. Like it's just very clean and enunciated, and but their slang is specific too. It's gonna get weird. He says wrestling, like, it's hard to explain. He's like, he drops the G and is lean, like wrestling, wrestling. It's so hard. You want to say it real quick? Yeah. It's just, there's certain slang that comes along with it, and Jen and I definitely talked about it in our early on rehearsals about, you know, how important it was to make sure.
You gonna change your act? I said, I am,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. And I loved it. I would hear her change it, like while we were like, you know, in action. I would hear it, and I'd be, what the hell is this? It was great. It was great. It was important for us.
And Jennifer, I read that, the hair color was very specific to growth for Judy.
Yeah, I think so. I got
Color
to.
changes.
I asked Judy and Billy, I think they sent me albums of the family, like photo albums and stuff like that, and I was looking through the pictures and I was looking at different times, and when I got with you, I was like, when was this, when was this, when was it, and I had specific reasons, I was asking why, and one of the things I had noticed is that when she was most sad, she took away her natural color and went like really, really blonde, like lighter, and would do these streaks in her hair and stuff like that, and I was like, okay, so there's something going on there. So I said to her and I said to Billy, I said, I noticed this, is this true? And she was like, oh my God, yes. And I was like, I'm gonna start it with like more color in my hair, and then as she becomes more whole and more kind of comfortable with herself and starts, you know, her own kind of healing and journey and her own growth journey, I said I want her to become more who she naturally is. And she was like, okay, I love that. Yeah, no, that's true. I was really upset there. This is what was happening there. This was happening. I was like, I know, I see it. I got it. Because as an actor, you know, you really, really look at those things. You look at like how people sit, how they, you know, you're just studying the whole behavior, and there's an emotional kind of connection to every mannerism and everything that people do all the time. And that's like kind of the fun part for me. That's what I love doing. And so to kind of break it down into like, and I'm also a dancer and a singer, so it's a lot of sound for me. The voice was very important. I would listen to her in a podcast every day on the way in, just to get my voice right. And then I would like, you know, I was always watching Judy when she was, you know, with me. The way she walked, the way she talked was different than I carried myself, you know what I mean? Again, being from New York, it's a totally different thing. There's a different way you walk, a different way you talk, all of those things. And so I find the physical part of it really helps me being a dancer and stuff like that, so, yeah.
Jharrel, you had a lot of time with some great male actors, Don Cheadle, Bobby Cannavale, like Michael Peña. Tell us about working with them, you know, individually.
Yeah, absolutely. Scary. Super scary, especially Don, man. I looked up to him so much growing up. But the beauty of acting is falling into your scene partner and allowing yourself to react and to accept what's been given to you. And I call actors boxers. Like, we get in the ring and we spar. What you got? Left hook, right hook, I dodge. I got, you know, we're going tit for tat, we're going toe to toe. And if that's the case, someone like Don Cheadle, he's Mike Tyson. You know what I'm saying? And he's giving me everything he's got. And so the nerves are there at first and the pressure's there, but then when it comes to the work, it becomes easy. I don't want to say easy, that sounds like it, because it's not, but it becomes a lot easier to fall into the world when I have like Bobby and Michael who just, they fall into it. It's amazing, actually. That's one thing I want to learn. Like, as an actor, I'm very annoying. I'm like the guy on the set who's like, Jharrel, let us know when you're ready. And I'm like, like 5 minutes. Billy's screaming, all right, get ready. And so it's amazing to watch Don and Bobby and Michael, actually all of them just slide into the character. And like, Bobby is like, he's actually the funniest guy I know.
Bobby's
He's so
amazing.
funny, and you wouldn't,
So good.
on action, he's just not. He's using his humor, and it's there, but it's dark, it's sinister. Don too, he's just always making a joke, and then that's it. Now he's giving me the most inspiring advice I've ever heard in my life, and he's selling the hell out of it. And, I just aspire to get to that level of like, I've been doing this, so watch, you know.
So this last question is for everyone. This film is about wanting something that the world is trying to tell you can't have, but you have an innate belief that the world is yours. How has Anthony's story impacted each of you personally?
Well, I mean, I don't complain about much anymore. No, it really has. I mean, every time there was a difficult day on set, or we were unfortunate, we got shut down after 11 days of shooting. We got shut down by the writers and actors strike. for 6 months, and then we had to pick up again. And the first couple days, or the day we got shut down, was so devastating for all of us. And then I was talking to Jharrel, and I talked to everybody, but like working on a film called Unstoppable about Anthony and Judy, who overcame all these incredible challenges. I think we ought to back up and realize, like Anthony said, the gifts we have and how fortunate we are to be able to do this and just, wait it out, keep working, figure out ways to make the film even better, which I know Jharrel rededicated after working out for 7 months, and then he had found out he had to continue that diet that he hated, and all the training he had to do, and be able to do that for with no end in sight. Really, we didn't know how long it was going to be, but we all just thought, let's just use this opportunity to make ourselves better, and I think that's all because of Anthony.
What was the question?
How does Anthony's story impact you personally?
Oh, no, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think too, for me, it was playing Judy that really impacted me. I think every role that I do, there's something that I walk away with. And with this story, I think it's that thing that women can do to themselves, where it's like not give themselves enough credit. It was a healing thing to be able to kind of like go through what she went through in her relationship and trying to be a good mom and all that. I think as a mom and as a working mom, we all struggle with that. And to kind of like go through the nuances of that, it's like you work out a little piece of it yourself at the same time. And so I just walked away a little bit more aware, a little bit more forgiving of myself too, a little bit more healed in a way. And in a way, it changes you, changes your life, and of course, I've always kind of had the mentality that we can do whatever we want to do, but when you see somebody like Anthony, who, to the plain eye, you think, oh, he has things going against him, and you realize, no, he has so much more going on than any of us. It really is so inspiring, and, again, really humbled and happy and honored to be able to play Judy and to be part of Anthony's story.
I don't get the question repeated. Oh, yeah. No, it's hard to say. I mean, I'm his mom. I've been around him, but Anthony's just, we're very similar. I always say he's the nicer version of me because I'm like very direct and I that's true. But I learned from him to be kinder, to see people in a different light, to be a little bit more patient. And to give myself a little bit more grace. And that's carried me from the beginning, even being his mom and being the person that he looks up to and that he depends on. But he's allowed me to make my own mistakes. And sorry, I'm not gonna cry again. He is the biggest blessing that I have. And I am enormously grateful.
I guess work ethic for me. I just pushed myself in ways I never thought I would, and literally was like bended over and flipped upside down in ways I never thought I'd be. So now I'm like, don't mess with me in my next bar fight. But I understand the gym, I understand fitness, I understand how important it is for health reasons. I understand what it does for your routine and your schedule and your mindset and how you approach things outside of the gym. Because before, I swear I was never in that gym. And so getting the chance to really get to do it for what I love and the passion that I love is truly, truly a blessing because, when you get whipped into shape for 7 months, like, there's no going back. If I go back, I'm gonna feel dumb. I have to go through the 7 months again. And so I just, I worked out today.
So Anthony, your question is gonna be a little different to close us out. And speaking of today in New York City was the New York City Marathon. A lot of different bodies, a lot of disabilities out there. Have been training for months, crossing the finish line. What other sport for you, or who else inspires you to keep going when you yourself need a little push?
I'd say now, I'm blessed to be a dad. And so that's what inspires me now. His name's Abel. He's going to be 2 at the end of December. And what inspires me is to be the dad that I always wanted, but I never had for him. It's like I'm not going to allow it to be my excuse. I'm gonna do for him what I wanted. I'm gonna do better. That's my goal every single day now. I want to be that man that he looks up to, that he respects. To be his hero like my mom was my hero. That's my goal. That's what keeps me going now. It's just my son.
And there's gonna be a part 2.